Hi and welcome to our Women of the World Unite Hangout. Today I'm with a woman that I met back in October of last year. Her name is Jules Wyman, and I'll tell you a little bit about Jules before I introduce her to you. So Jules is one of the UK's leading confidence coaches and is described as a truly inspiring speaker. She's a creator of the Trust System and was voted Britain's next top female coach. Jules' amazing journey as a confidence coach began with herself, building her own confidence and in going through the process, shattering the myth that you're born with confidence and it's not something you can develop. She now speaks and coaches globally about confidence matters. Now, when I first met Jules back in October, I remember seeing her, we were at a workshop together, and I remember seeing her and thinking, I need to know that woman. I need to be around her. She was just so magnetic, and her energy was so magnetic. And she literally did shine. And I was lucky enough to get to chat to her at one of the lunches by a mutual friend. And I remember when my mutual friend first brought her over, I thought, oh, who's she bringing over? That's that woman that I just think is amazing. And that whole little inner critic going, I'm not good enough, this woman's amazing, and we got chatting and I just felt completely down to earth with Jules, completely connected to her, and we've been in touch ever since. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jules.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a wonderful opportunity for us to get to know you better and the amazing work that you do. So the first thing I would like to ask you, because we're women of the world, what part of the world is it that you live in?
Thank you, Nikki, and it's an absolute pleasure to be invited to be part of this. So I live in York, which is in the north of England. I'm looking out of my window, as if you can see out of my window. I live in the wonderful city of York, and I work right in the city centre. The office overlooks actually one of the most amazing streets called the Shambles. So if anybody wants to just Google Shambles, obviously after the Hangout, not during, it is just stunning. I just absolutely love living here.
Beautiful. So tell us a bit more about what it is you do and the trust system that you've created. I'm really intrigued to hear more about that.
So very briefly, I know you kind of mentioned it, but the reason I do what I do and why I've focused on confidence specifically is because I used to work in theatre, and I spent 10 years working in the wonderful, unglamorous world of show business. And I worked backstage, and there was a reason I wanted to be backstage, and that's because I wanted to hide. I wanted to be part of this glamour, but I didn't want to be centre of attention. I didn't want to be in the spotlight. I didn't want to shine in any way, shape or form. So I literally, as we were just saying before we came live, you know, I used to wear black. I worked in the dark. So I wanted to hide. I didn't want to expose myself. Because I didn't have any confidence. I didn't believe in myself, and in fact I would go so far as to say I hated myself. I used drink, drugs, food, poor relationships, whatever it may be, to try and make myself feel better, and over a period of time realised that actually it wasn't working, and that in some way, shape or form I was going to have to work on myself. And so slowly started getting introduced to various different things. I'd always been into sort of like spiritual development. And ever since I can remember, I mean, I was fascinated with things like spirit and tarot cards and religion. And I didn't grow up in a household that encouraged that or even knew anything about it. So I've always been the weirdo of the family, which, you know, it's a label I'm quite happy to wear now. And so I was exploring that side, and as I was exploring that more, I discovered this word coaching and life coaching specifically. So I started having some for myself to help me kind of move out of that dark place that I felt I was in, of not feeling comfortable in my own skin. That's why I could relate to you when you said, oh my God, what's that woman doing coming towards me? I'm not good enough. I could so relate to that because that's how I'd spent so much of my life. And as I was going through my training, my coach said to me, as I was going through my coaching process, my coach said to me, have you started training as a coach yet? And I said, no, why? And he said, because you kind of keep coaching me. And I was like, oh, do I? And he said, I think you really need to look into it. It's something that you obviously have a natural ability for. So that's kind of why I then trained as a coach, initially as a life coach, and then positive impact coach and peak performance coach. But what I just discovered more and more was I knew the language around confidence and understanding that. And one of my big breakthroughs with confidence, it was one of my number one insights really, was recognizing that what confidence really is. Because if you think about it, it's used so much in advertising. I did a talk last night, I do a Truth About Confidence talk, and I was saying to the guys last night, you know, what do deodorant, shampoo, and paint have in common, other than the chemicals? Mm-hmm. And that is every single one of them are using the word confidence in their advertising. You can paint with confidence or colour with confidence, as the phrase was. Excuse me. The deodorant says you can have dry confidence, and the shampoo, it was a whole editorial advert, I think, editorial that was an advert, and basically it was for a shampoo that says that if you use our shampoo, then you'll go out on a date feeling confident. And it's like, really? And that's where I think confusion starts to come when you talk about confidence, and I want to debunk a lot of or dispel a lot of the myths around it. So when you take it back to actually what the word really means, confidence, it means confidere, to trust. And that's either in someone or something. So if you're talking about self-confidence, actually what you're talking about is self-trust. Mm-hmm. So when I was looking for a way to, what I was getting from a lot of people is they just wanted more. Whenever I did workshops and talks, they want more, they want more, they want to carry on learning. And I thought, well, how can I do this? Because as much as I love traveling and I love delivering workshops to all different places and talks, it's how can I reach as many people as possible? And that's where the trust system came about. Because the trust system, obviously the foundations is obviously built in the word confidence, but it's broken down into 5 key modules to help you really understand what confidence is, how to grow it for yourself, how to develop it for yourself, and you can do the whole lot from online at home.
Wow, sounds amazing.
It was actually a really difficult course to create, mm-hmm. just because it's such a big topic, and everyone's got their own beliefs around the word. They've got their own attachments and stories around the word. So there's a lot of unpacking sometimes that has to go on with getting to the nub of it for them. So I just thought I need to, what are the key things that I always talk about, no matter what someone's story is, no matter what their belief is around confidence. And that's where those 5 key things came out. So there was things like being able to talk with confidence. In other words, how to use your language to help yourself and those that you're speaking to. How to relax with life. Mm-hmm. So it was just breaking it down to get to the point of being able to be really clear for yourself as to what confidence is. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. That's my experience of you. When I first met you, at first, my trust in myself really lowered. And then very, very quickly through our conversation, I began to feel confident myself because I felt seen and I felt heard by you. And then we carried on, and in the break we were dancing. And that's one of the things. And that was something that I really didn't have confidence in myself for doing, and I really love dancing. I absolutely love it to bits. So during the breaks of our workshop, we were all encouraged to get up and dance, and we were right and giving it our all. And I remember looking over to you and thinking, wow, you gave me permission to really allow myself to enjoy that moment. So it's no great surprise to me that you do the work that you do because it's completely natural. And it's something that I felt that connection with you as well. I felt that you were able to tune into that part of me that perhaps lacked a little bit of self-trust, a little bit of self-confidence. And that small amount of time that we spent together really allowed myself to flourish and myself to blossom more. So I just knew I had to have the chat with you. Spend more time with you.
Just so that I can give you a little insight into what it is that I do. You said there that looking over to me you said looking over to me, it was like I gave you the permission to dance and enjoy yourself and really let your hair down. what I'd love you to remember is that you looked over, so it was you that gave you the permission.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. I was just being an idiot and dancing and doing, put some music on, and I'm well away, as you know. But it's, you know, and that's, to me, is what's so important where this work is concerned, is getting people to recognize. I have clients all the time say to me, oh, you changed my life. It's like, no, I didn't. You did. I showed you the tools. I might have given you the shortcuts. I might have given you the encouragement and celebrated with you, given you the support, seen you, heard you, whatever it may be. But ultimately, it is about remembering it's you that has to put the effort in, and it was you that gave us. And I'll never forget seeing you dancing in the dark in the corner, kind of like they really tentatively, and I came over and I was dancing with you, and you kind of upped it a little bit. And then within a few hours, it was like you were on stage, you were having it large, and it was like, there she is, now I can see her. And it was great to witness. Really wonderful to witness.
It was great, and again, it was that inspiration. And I think that's the thing that's infectious. When you see other people being their own inspiration and just letting go and just enjoying themselves, it gives you that yourself permission, exactly what you said there, to let go. Yeah. And to do that crazy dancing and go for it. So I know that you've got a retreat coming up at the end of March. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I run it. One of my ambitions, I love working in small groups with people, and I love doing that online, and I love doing it in person. And I've always felt drawn to being in a retreat environment. I've done a lot of retreats for myself, ranging from them being juice retreats of 7 days of juicing, right the way to going to the extreme, as one of my friends called it, of doing a Vipassana retreat, which is a 10-day silent retreat. And when I say silent, I mean silent, and you're not to look at anybody. There's no, even hand signals, there's nothing. So I was actually sharing a room with somebody that I didn't know, that I didn't get to speak to until the end. So I've done lots of different retreats, and as I say, the comment that I get so often when I deliver talks and workshops is people say, I want more, I want more, I want more. And I thought, actually, do you know what? I'd love to have a go with these immersion kind of experience and give people the opportunity. But I wanted it. I've actually been looking for a venue for maybe about 4 or 5 years, and to this day, I have no idea how I found Lendrick Lodge. I haven't got a clue. I wasn't. So I think that either an email or an advert or something happened to pop up that I just clicked on through, and it was at the perfect time. And everything about Lendrick Lodge, which is up in your native country of Scotland, and it is stunning. And it's what I love about it is rather than just going to a lovely country hotel, which I could have done, is that actually with Lendrick Lodge they do so many other different retreats there that it's got a really lovely energy about it, and it's right near a loch, and it's got the river down it. So the process, I wanted to find somewhere that is affordable for people, and also in a stunning setting as well. And that's actually more of a challenge to find, and I am quite fussy and particular about things like that. So the time, it's a small group, and the process that we go throughout the whole weekend is very much guided by the group and whatever they bring to the weekend. So it's not only what they bring and where they are, but it's also about me challenging them to look beyond and challenging perception. Because I think we get so locked down into a perception of this is what is, rather than actually thinking, well, this is what I see, this is what I experience, what else is there? And so we spend the whole time doing that, and I go through, it's a real mixture of how I live my life, really. From doing meditations, through to walks, through to coaching and conversation, through to being in silence, and just experiencing what is for yourself.
It sounds completely divine, and I have been feeling that pull. And you have that exactly what's called time for you, and finding yourself again. Because I find in people and clients that I work with, and myself as well, we can get lost in the day-to-day, get lost in children and work and everything you've got to do, that you completely lose yourself. You've got this label on, mother label, client label, therapist label, all these things, that who's the person in the centre of that? And I can see that being reflected back in the work that you're doing, and that gives people the opportunity to connect back into that essence of themselves again as well. It sounds and feels really, really important for so many of us to do. And you mentioned the word challenge, and that you challenge people to take to that space. So I'm going to mirror that one back to you.
Go for it.
What is it that you find? Do you find that any challenges in your life or in your business?
Say that again, Nikki, because you just cut out there for the moment.
What challenges did you find in your life and your business?
Oh, so two separate things, life and business. I'm going to take them separately at that. So I think we're sold a myth. I think we're sold a lie that life is meant to be easy. I think life is meant to be a challenge. It's partly why one of the websites that I've gotten where people can find me on Facebook is the Confidence Garden, and why I refer to it as a garden is because I use nature greatly as an inspiration. Whenever I kind of find myself getting into the whole I haven't done, or I need to do, or I should have done this, or I'm not as good as, or whatever it may be, is I tend to look at, at the moment we're in spring, is you show me a daffodil that's thinking to another daffodil, oh God, I'm not as big as them, or my trumpet's not as bright as theirs, or I haven't got as many leaves, or one of my petals is wonky, or, they just don't. It's just, I grow. And they haven't just gone into that flower. That bulb has had to, the energy and the potential within that bulb has had to be challenged. It's had to push its way through the shell. It's had to push its way through the ground. It's had to compete against the wind and the rain and the frost and the snow and all sorts, just to go, and I'm here. And then they're only here for a little while, and then they disappear again. And in some respects, that to me is more how life is. And I think there's constant challenges, and I think it's when we make whatever the challenge is that we're facing wrong, or we make ourselves wrong before having that challenge, that's when we feel discomfort. That's when we feel like a failure or not good enough, and all of that kind of worthless, inadequate. So for me, what kind of challenges have I faced? Gosh, everything from debt to poor health to divorce, relationship issues, as I've mentioned, drug and alcohol, food issues, I've said the financial ones, all of the ones that everybody has. Where business is concerned, I would say probably the same kind of challenges that most businesses go through. And I think that running your own business, running your own coaching practice as I do, I think it's the best personal development course you can ever go on. Because seriously, you start your own business, and I don't care whether it's a florist, whether it's a hairdressers, builders, it doesn't matter what the business is, but seriously, you get to face who and how you show up in the world, because your business reflects that back to you. So, if you're struggling in one particular area, then you need to reflect that back. Are you ignoring that area? Because I've got a friend who didn't want to look at the financial side, didn't want to look at it, so kept ignoring it, and of course you can imagine what was happening. All sorts, she was being ripped off, and people weren't paying their invoices, blah blah blah. But she was kind of getting frustrated at them rather than taking responsibility and going, do you know what, I need to look at this. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we face, be it in life or in business, is facing ourselves and taking responsibility for what and how life is and how we're interacting with that. And only we have the opportunity to do that. So I have challenges every single day. This morning was definitely getting up, but it was a long day yesterday. I did, especially when the thing came through about the no makeup selfie. I'm like, today, really? That's just, oh well, here we go. So I think they're there every day, but I think it's about what attitude any of us, and more specifically myself, obviously, what I take into that challenge. Because if I go in with a victim kind of attitude of, oh, why me? Why is this always happening to me? It's not fair, da da da. Then that's going to be frigging hard work to get through. It's going to be like a quagmire trying to get through to the other side. But if I go into it with a more of a solution-focused attitude of, okay, well, this is just where I am. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. How can I deal with it? What do I need? Who can I reach out to for help? What do I need to face that I'm avoiding? Then that's going to give me a very different outcome. But yeah, it's the same challenge.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I see weaved through the work that you're doing as well. So would you say the majority of what is that you're working with a system is actually through your own experience and working through your own challenges and what you've learned, and you've created this package from that?
Absolutely, and I am a firm believer if we teach the very thing that we need to learn. And I don't think that's static. I think it's something that's evolving. For example, with yourself, a lot of your work is around connection and connection with your heart, connection with your message, and all of that. It's the very thing that I know that you and I have had a conversation around it, about connecting with other people, connecting with yourself. It's the very thing that we need to learn. And I remember having a conversation with somebody very recently who said, yeah, but if I need to learn it, then surely I can't teach it. And I said, well, it depends on how far you say you're down the line, because if you're exaggerating and puffing yourself up to be much further down the line and have more knowledge on it, then yeah, that's not good. But to be able, do I have confidence issues? Actually, as I say that, I don't think I have confidence issues so much anymore. I think for me, that's been a gateway for me to really understand trust, which then has led me on to really exploring faith, which has led me on to exploring self-worth. Mm-hmm. And I think they are all intrinsically linked, but they dig deeper. And it's a little bit like me I'm sorry if I apologize if I offend anybody with what I'm about to say, but I can't talk to a man about experiencing premature ejaculation from a male perspective. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not one. Uh-huh. I can talk about it from a female perspective, but I still can't. I have no idea actually what he goes through. So how could I talk to him about what he needs to do for himself? I could give him the female experience, but that's a very different thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where it's about, I think, honouring who you are and the process that you have gone through, and it's cheesy to say, but the gifts that it's given. I couldn't talk about half the stuff I've been through. I couldn't talk about it and have understanding and connection with people if I hadn't experienced myself. I had a client in here the other day. I keep pointing over there because that's where my client chair is. And she was talking about the fact that her brother is suicidal, and feeling helpless. And her question to me was, how can you help somebody who doesn't want to be helped? And I took a really deep breath in, because I know that feeling, because my best friend took her own life 3 years ago. And you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. And I couldn't have really connected with her in that way. I couldn't have understood where she was coming from if I hadn't have experienced something. My experience and her experience aren't the same, but nonetheless they're closer than me just talking from a textbook.
It's that compassion and understanding.
Yeah.
That really makes that connection there, because I'm very similar when I've got sessions with people as well. I don't think there's anybody that I've not had done a session with that I've not been able to connect with and remembered how that felt, or remembered my own feeling with that. And it's through connecting with my own experience that you can then offer and hold that space for somebody else, and help them to understand, given a little bit of clarity. And a lot of people are reaching out just for that compassion, just for somebody saying, do you know what, I understand, without judgment, without giving your advice, giving your guidance. Sometimes people just need to be heard.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I love doing group workshops, especially when you've got about 12 people there, 12 or under. I love, and one of the reasons I love is because I'm a coach, I ask questions, that's my job. But also I think it's my nature as well. But you ask a question, like I did last night. There was about 40, 50 people in the room, and I said to them, and it was mixed gender, I asked various different things, and I said, okay, out of interest, how many of you would like to have even more confidence? And they raised their hands, and I say, okay, take a look around the room. Because most people kind of, you can see them sort of like doing this kind of thing of slowly, do I put my hand up tentatively, and I'm not going to look around in case I'm the only one. But the moment they kind of like look around and realize, they're like, oh, it's not just me. And I remember doing that when it was professional women. It was actually a top law firm in the UK. And again, same number, as about 40 or 50 of them in the room, exactly the same question, and they ranged from being the legal secretaries right the way through to partners of the law firm. So it's a real mixture. And it was so fascinating having asked that question, and about 95% of them raised their hands. Watching them look at each other, go, "You too? Oh wow!" And that sudden recognition of A, oh wow, it's not just me, but B, oh, it's you too. And, it's a level of compassion that most people don't experience a lot of the time. So I think it's really important, and I don't think we do it enough. And that's one of the reasons why I love Facebook, and especially groups like this, because it gives you the opportunity to go, it's not just me.
Yeah. And that's where the magic lies.
Absolutely.
Sharing our stories, sharing our experiences, sharing how we're feeling at that moment in time as well. And that's what I feel brings people together. And that's part of the reason for Women of the World Unite. Because my experience was competition. My experience was, and it was you that kind of brought that up for me as well, thinking my inadequacies for somebody walking towards, because it was the January after the workshop that we were at that I decided to put this together. And I'd actually made the group 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it'd been in the back burner. I hadn't published it, hadn't gone out, but I'd come up with the name, I'd come up with the concept. But I think it was the competition part. And I thought, that's something that I want to work on. I want to really kind of connect people together. So you start a group with that, you start from that beginning. And it's completely changed the way that I look at women, the way that I look at connections. Perhaps before, if my daughter Kira, who's 16, was speaking of another mum and them giving her advice, my hackles would go up a little bit, but I'm the one to give you advice. And all of a sudden it was like fantastic. Because we did used to have these groups of women around us, our mothers, our aunties. There was masses of the women that
Absolutely.
one child could turn to. And now women are quite solo in their mothering and where they are in work and places like that. But we're fantastic when we come together.
It's fascinating because it's only, I absolutely relate to that. And I didn't grow up in an environment surrounded by family in that respect, that, my nan and my granddad and people like that coming in and out looking after us. But I've got a friend who, well, you and I both know, who she's had a baby, Shani. And when I went down to her baby shower, it was just amazing to watch various different cultures, mostly West Indian, but all of them it wasn't even something of, like the lady who was running it, Shani's sister-in-law, it wasn't a case of, can you watch the kids whilst I go and do it? That wasn't even said. But you've got these two little children who were tottering around, they're kind of like party mode and had a cake and all of that kind of thing. So they're all excited. But the moment any of them went anywhere near a table that had, or anything that had sharp edges, it was just fascinating to watch this. One woman, didn't matter who it was, a hand would just go down and just protect their head. Not say a word to them, but just protect their head so they were safe and they could carry on. They were unaware, really, that they were being protected, but it was this, exactly what you're saying, this collective support. And one of the lads got upset. He was tired. He'd had loads of sugar, so he was knackered, and he just started crying and getting grouchy. And Mum was in the kitchen busy doing something, so someone just picked him up and started soothing him and chatting away to him, and he started to calm down. And it's like, I've not really kind of seen and been in that kind of community to be given the opportunity as an adult to recognise the value. And I think the power of it is phenomenal. And I think when we can step away from putting ourselves in competition with other women, and when we can stop comparing ourselves to other women, because the majority of the time that's been done negatively, at a detriment to ourselves, our own insecurities. I just think what we can actually achieve for ourselves, for our families, for our communities, for our countries, for globally, is just exponential. It really is.
It's beautiful. And I remember when I started the group, I encouraged people to share their business, to share their life, to share all these things. And so many women would private message me saying, is it okay because it's similar to what you do? Is it okay to share this? Is it okay? And it's like, yes. And if I've got anything that comes up with that, then great, because I can deal with that at the same time as well. Because the whole message of this group and saying that supporting us all together, we're all looking for that same thing. We're all looking for support, we're all looking for passion, we're all looking for a fantastic feeling in life, and also to be there when we have got those that can come up daily, weekly, monthly, minutely, and just to go, do you know what, this is a bit of a struggle just now, and I'm still capable and I'm still the person that I am, but right now I'm needing that little bit of support round. Or on the complete side of that, support to shine. So
Absolutely.
many people are frightened to shine and frightened to be the people that they are, and to put themselves out there and say, listen, this is me and this is what.
I think part of the problem with that, Nikki, is that I don't think people really know who they are. And I think that's the thing, is that we keep being given this message, excuse me, of who and how we should be, who and how we should be in the world, how we should be seen, how we should show up, and all of this. And I think that that's why Time for You is so important from my perspective, because it's not only about giving yourself a gift to take yourself out. One lady said to me who came last year, she's Scottish actually, that's not funny, but I just made the connection that she's Scottish, mum of two, and she's a coach, but she very rarely gets the opportunity to really delve into stuff for herself in this kind of way. And she'd taken the time to come up for the weekend, and she said that I'm not having to cook, I'm not having to clean, I'm not having to make sure things are tidied away. All I'm having to do, the only thing I have to do every day is clean myself, choose what clothes I want to wear, and be where I'm meant to be. And
for so many women, that is luxury.
Absolute luxury. This is what blows my head, though, when people kind of then go, yeah, but I can't do that, and they go into the guilt side of things, because actually it saddens me, and I know it's a lot easier for me. I don't have children, so therefore if I do want to do something, I just pack up and go and I do it. I don't have that, so I appreciate that logistically it's a lot easier for me to do. And I do believe that if any mother, the majority, I can't say all, but if the majority of mothers were told, if you don't go and do this workshop, if you don't take this time for you, then you are going to actually, in the long term, be affecting negatively your children, because the message, especially if you've got daughters, you'll be passing on the message that they are less than you. You are less than them, rather. you'll actually subconsciously be passing that message on. So unless you take this, you are damaging your children long term. I'd sell out probably within 2 days.
Yeah, it's that message out there, and as a mum, I remember. It always reminds me when we talk about that sort of thing when I was flying for the first time, and my little one was only 4 months old, and I was on the plane, and the air hostess is saying, so if the masks come down, you put your mask on yourself first and then your child. And I remember being completely black in front of that. There's no way that I could do that. I would put it on my child first until logic kicks in and go, well, actually, if I've got no oxygen and I can't breathe, who is going to put that on for my child?
Do you know, I use that analogy so often, and I remember I had nearly a stand-up debate with a group of teachers, interestingly enough, at a primary school who tend to be majority women, all saying that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. How can you put yourself first before your children? It's like, but what message are you passing on? You think you're saying, oh, you're so amazing, but if that worked, my guess is actually your mum did that to you. Mm-hmm. I know my mum certainly did. My mum sacrificed so much, but did that mean that I went, haha, look at me, I'm fantastic, I've got loads of confidence and self-worth and everything? No, gave me the complete opposite message, because she wasn't living it ourselves. And you know, it's the old adage of don't do what I do, do what I say, don't do what I do. And that's not true, because kids copy. That's what we do. So, you know, it's all well and good saying you've got to love your body, it's so beautiful, it's the thing that carries you around and it's amazing. But if you say that to your daughter and then 2 minutes later they see you going, God, I look crap today, what message really are they going to hear?
And you know my personal story with my eldest daughter, and the kind of turning point part of my life back in October was really learning that and actually being completely aware of what I taught my daughter, who was going through an awful time, suicide attempts, didn't want to be here anymore, didn't love herself, didn't like herself very much. And I was going through a phase of saying, but you're amazing, you're wonderful, you're fantastic, at the same time going, I'm not good enough, there's so many people better than me, I don't know if I want to be here. And it was that moment that I thought, I have taught her this. This is what I've taught her, and I can't unteach. All I can do is teach her differently as going forward.
And the only way you can do that is by really truly learning it for yourself. And I think what a lot of mums then get caught up in is then self-abusing of, oh my God, what have I done to my daughter, and how could I have done that, I'm such a bad mum. No, you didn't know any different. Mm-hmm. You know, you didn't know any different, so how can you abuse yourself? And you know, the story that I share with that is when my dog had the snip, and I remember him being brought back from the vets, and he was still kind of all doped up, and I was about 14, and I was all cuddled up with him on the floor, still in my school uniform, watching TV, and all of a sudden I could feel something really wet and warm on my arm, and I looked down and he's just urinating. And I screamed and did, you know, the 14-year-old kind of like disgusting, how dare he. Mum comes in, she scooches Ben up, takes him outside, lets him finish his business, comes in, cleans everything up. I've gone upstairs being the uber dramatical kind of teenage girl. And I come down really berating the dog. You know, he's trained. Why is he doing that? That's disgusting. And my mum just very, very profoundly said, you can't chastise someone or something that's unconscious to what it's doing. Mm-hmm. How can you? He has no idea that he's doing it. So how can you tell him off? And I think that's exactly the same with how we've brought our children up, rightly or wrongly. It's the only way we knew how. It's the only way.
Yeah, and that's how I ended up getting onto co-creating lives of passion, because it was like, well, I need to do that. I need to show them, and I need to live it every single day without making an excuse for it. Passion in some form, one way or another. And it's the same thing about creating time for yourself. I know I'm a better person when I create time for myself. I'm not working off the cup's half empty. When my cup is full and overflowing, I have a fantastic relationship with my husband. He's happy. I have a fantastic relationship with my kids. I've got fantastic clients that I can work with. My social life is amazing. But when it's not and I don't fill myself up and I'm working off that dry place, then you start grudging having to spend time with the kids and you're tired all the time. You don't want to do it. So I am an advocate for time. And if I was a doctor, I'd be prescribing it for everybody.
The thing that's fascinating is actually it doesn't have to cost a huge amount of time to do that. It doesn't have to cost a huge amount of money to be able to do that either. But what it does cost is effort. And that's the thing that I was banging on about last night. To me, that is the key. That's it. It's effort. Over, you just said it, every day, every day, every day, as much as you can. Just what can you do? Not creating a big long to-do list of all the. I remember when I was probably about 4 years into coaching, and I can't remember how many books I'd read at that point because I was just chewing them up every day practically, trying to get through them all. And I remember sitting down thinking, right, this weekend I need to go through all the books and write down all the exercises that you have to do every single day. And then I heard myself do that and I thought, hang on a second, if I wrote down all the exercises that I needed to do, that all these different books are telling me that I need to do every day, I'd have to get up probably before I went to bed to start doing all of these different exercises. And I actually wouldn't get anything done other than, by meditating, by doing yoga, by doing my breath work, going for a run, making my fresh juice, writing my journal, all of these different things, visioning, blah, 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 blah. And they're all great. I'm not knocking any of them at all. But it is about stepping it back, and I'm so pragmatic. It's about firstly find what you love and what works for you, whether that is dancing, which I know you and I both have in common, any opportunity, and we're there. Whether it is dancing, and even if you can't go out and dance, then as we've said, chuck your favourite record on in the house and just dance yourself silly. If you need to draw the curtains because you're worried about somebody walking past, then do it. But do something, and it doesn't matter whether it's 3 minutes long or 3 days long, but it's about you putting that effort and saying, do you know what? I am worth it. I can do this for me. And that's sadly where I think most people fall down.
Yeah, and as somebody that was such a list person, and I had to do everything on the list for it to be right, the key word for me was or, rather than this and this and this. It was this or this or this. And all of a sudden, as somebody that loves variety, I was like, oh, wow, look at the options I've got available to me. And dancing is the key one for me. And if any time I drop or get a little bit frustrated and something's not going right, it's putting that music on, full pelt, singing too.
Absolutely. Well, that's the law.
Singing and dancing. And afterwards, you can't help but feel amazing. You can't help feel that the endorphins being released and your energy being exuberant, really, and the smile on your face. And I tend to share this music on Facebook. I'll pop up. So you're all dancing too. That's the invitation. But no, it creates a passion. It creates that sense that you've filling that cup up a lot more. And as you say, you can do that with 3 days, or you can do it with 2 minutes. And that's the beauty.
Absolutely.
And being able to do that. So if there was one bit of guidance you could give to your younger self, knowing what you know now, the experience, the life experience you have now, what would it be?
It would be something along the lines of you're already enough exactly as you are.
Yes.
You are already enough. You don't need to achieve, gain, gather anything.
Love it.
You are already enough. That's to me I think linking that back to the dance thing, because apparently, I think I told you this back in October, apparently I could dance before I could walk.
Mm-hmm.
So, because my mum, one of the first things my mum does when she gets up is put the radio on, and part of that is shutting out what's going on up here. But part of it is because she also loves music, and as we discovered clearing out a cupboard recently, and have uncovered about 278s, let alone the other LPs that she's got up there. But anyway, but apparently I used to sit in my buggy like this to music anytime there was any music, just having a little bop, having a little move. So I think as well as about recognizing that you are already enough, is just to be you. So if that's dancing, if that's moving, if that's smiling, if that's sitting and reading, if that's being a writer, if that's being an engineer, if that's being whatever, then just enjoy it and enjoy every moment. Every single moment. When it's pouring with rain, wear the right clothes and go outside. Mm-hmm. Or strip off and run around naked. Whatever.
That's a little filming.
Whatever floats your boat. But yeah, it would be that you are already enough.
Great. So we're just on the spring equinox at the moment over here. So what's springing up for you just now? What's the new things on the horizon?
Wow, what a great question. What's springing up for me? I think for me, because it feels like my business is in an evolution period, and so there's some growing pains, which I think is inevitable. But what I think for me, this is about fine-tuning, and I'd love the ladies in the group actually to help me with this. I'm going to be absolutely honest and share an insight that I had last night, obviously while sat on the toilet, because that's where insights do appear. But this is the absolute truth. I was thinking about two friends of mine that they are fitness people. They run their business is all around fitness, and they shifted what they were selling from a weight loss perspective to it being about body confidence perspective. And I thought that's a really brave thing to do, actually, because the majority of people tend to focus on weight rather than wanting body confidence. So I love the fact that they're stepping out there. The more I thought about it, and the more I thought, okay, so really what is it that I sell, if you want to put it in that way? And I was thinking about it, and I had this little light bulb moment of realizing that I'm inviting people to invest in themselves, be it time or be it effort or be it financially. But the challenge is I'm inviting and wanting to connect with people who don't actually believe in themselves. Mm-hmm. So if you feel that you've got a level of worthlessness, then you're possibly not going to feel worthy of investing in yourself. And I feel at the moment a little bit like I'm swimming upstream. Mm-hmm. And what it feels like is that it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the deodorant and the shampoo and the pain, is that the message out there is so obviously buy this and you'll feel confident, or have this and you'll feel confident. And it doesn't work. If it worked, then people would feel enough. They would feel worthy. And I think for me, my real challenge at the moment with that, and what's springing up for me, is how can I break through that? How can I really reach out to those people who are like yourself, when you sat there and you honestly said, oh my God, why is Adrienne bringing her over? I don't want, no, oh. And my genuine shock when you went, but I would never have come and spoken to you because, and you listed all this stuff out that I went, oh gosh. And I mean, that weekend for me was such an insight with how people responded to me in various different ways.
Mm.
And it saddens me so much that there are so many women out there that keep finding another front to put on. And I'm going to say something now that I want people to hear the whole of what I'm saying, because I think part of the challenge is, for example, the message that keeps putting out there about you are a goddess, you are a goddess, you are a goddess. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely believe that every woman is. I genuinely do believe that. And I think sometimes it provides, unfortunately, another costume for people to put on, rather than actually going, but I don't feel I can get it. I get it up here, that I can be a goddess and that there's that possibility. I can understand that, but I don't know it because I still feel worthless. I still feel of no value, and that's okay. So where can I get support? How can I make a difference? What can I do for myself? And so that's kind of what's springing up for me at the moment, and I don't quite know how to articulate a lot of it. I've got a lot of desire to connect with and reach out to people like your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, because I know I don't speak their language, and I know I don't live in their world.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't want to be a teenage girl or a teenage boy right now. And I would love to know how to help. I know that just sharing my story and these tools, I know it doesn't work. I've done that. So if there's a way of being able to do that as well, to me, it's about breaking that cycle and getting people to recognize that they are worthy. They're worthy even in their experience of worthlessness. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the word that keeps coming to mind is somebody that can understand a lot of what you're saying and the goddess and all that sort of thing. Where I struggled was the embodiment of it and bringing it in, really bringing it in and breathing it in. And for the last year, that's what I've worked solely on. I can talk the talk all day long. It was walking the walk. It was living it every single day. And I can feel emotions rising when you were talking about the teenage girls and boys, because I see it and I see their hearts breaking, and they're looking to change the world. I've never seen such transparency than I have through these kids on Facebook. They're constantly asking people to judge themselves, but it's that transparent honesty that they're looking for. They don't want to hide behind the masks anymore. And I'm seeing that more and more now. And it took me to lift my mask off to be able to see it in my own daughter and work with her friends now and stop being mum and start being Nikki with them. And that has completely changed.
Do you know, it's interesting, just to, sorry to cut in there, Nikki, but it's just as you said that, I think I can't remember if I've said this to you before, actually, but one of the things I learned when I was on one of my trainings in India is they say to you, when a child is between the age of 0 and 6, you treat them as the king or the queen.
Mm-hmm.
From the age of 6 to 12, you treat them as a prince or a princess. From the age of 12 onwards, you treat them as a friend.
Yeah.
And I must have learned that. Obviously I said I'm divorced now, but I was married and I had 2 stepsons. I still see them as stepsons because I lived with them for nearly 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I learned that. I think the youngest will have been probably about 10, and I think the eldest will therefore have been about 15-ish. And the moment I saw that, I thought, I've been trying to be parent the whole time to both, and actually they need me to be, and to have a different attitude with them. So I love the fact that you've just articulated that in a way of saying, I need to stop being mum now, I need to be Nikki.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be there, because you've established that role at the age of 0 to 6. And I know your little one's not that much away from that age group. You've established that there. You've established that I am mum part there. Then you can start taking a step back, and I think that supports them to take a step back and recognise I'm always here. As I heard someone say once, you know, when you first have a child, you are the full band, and you have to play everything, and you know they're right in there, and you are the best musician as far as they're concerned. But over time, you become background music, and there are times when they'll just turn the volume right down, but they always know that background music's there. And I think that's so important to recognise for them, but for you, it's about being you.
It is, and it's allowing yourself to have that. And my daughter, she's happy for me to share this. She sees the healing on all this now. Recently, a bit of a taboo subject as well. Recently, lost her virginity, and I remember she told me very blasé, and I was a bit taken aback. I thought, all right, okay, and I was in complete turmoil. How do I handle this? Do I do the mum thing? I don't want to know about that sort of thing, or ask lots of questions and be that really kind of forceful side, or what happens if I just tried to do it a bit differently? So I did, and I did the responsible thing about, did you use protection? Was it? She knows my first experience, which was actually a date rape when I was 15, and I shared that with her early on, so that she understands actually the importance of virginity, that you never get it back. It's not something that you can claw back again. So just honour that part of yourself. So we'd had that open conversation anyway, so it was very much, did you feel respected? How was it? And even talking, I actually did want to know, how was it? And that part of me felt really wrong to even ask that question. So I just ignored that part. And I asked her if she wanted to do some sort of, I'm a ceremony queen, so just if she wanted to do some sort of ceremony over it. So that weekend, her and her friend, we created a ceremony. I said it can be something as small as lighting a candle, or we can do it as elaborate as you like. And we spent the night talking about sex and talking about experience and talking about our first time. We wrote down the things that we didn't enjoy. We wrote down the feelings that we didn't enjoy having. And I'd asked my husband if he would make a fire outside. So he was still part of it as well. So we went down and we burnt the things that just didn't fit us anymore, and we evoked what we wanted to bring in, how we wanted to have a relationship with ourselves, to honour ourselves, respect ourselves, love ourselves, which will then kind of bring in partners in the future as well. We laughed, we talked about crap sex, we talked about amazing sex, we talked about self-pleasuring, and all that time I could feel that connection deepening for my daughter, who's 16, very independent, ready to go out in the world, and I felt like I got her back. I felt like it was a new relationship, but it was a relationship that wasn't 100% sure about, and neither was she, but we connected back again, and that was a massive and important. So when you're talking about that, they're the things that are close to my heart, honouring those times first.
But that's what, to me, that's what's so to me, that's what WOW is about, and other groups on Facebook, is actually have those conversations. Why is sex a taboo subject? Why is human trafficking? Why is that a taboo subject? Why is snorting cocaine a taboo subject? Only because really we're either making judgments of the other person because of our own shame on the topic. In actual fact, we can diminish that shame by hearing other people. No judgment, just hearing it and having compassion for them. And not even having compassion for them, actually practicing the art of having compassion for ourselves. Because that's, to me, that's what's important. And you know, a colleague of mine, a friend of mine rather, her daughter has recently started her periods, Because when I was 9 when I started mine, and I didn't even know, I thought I'd done something really, really bad. And so went into a deep lot of guilt about it, etc. Because I didn't even know they existed. I'd never seen a sanitary towel or tampon in the house, and so I didn't even know what any of that was. And when my friend said, "Oh, you know, my daughter's just come home from school," and I was like, "Make a big fuss! This is awesome!" You know, and she did. You know, she'd all got it sorted. She had, you know, bath and candles and all this kind of thing. So it was honouring it. Yeah. Whereas what I had heard was, I actually overheard 2 female relatives saying, "Oh God, she's got the curse." Yeah. So I heard that as I'd done something really bad, and spent the majority of my life then hiding as being a woman. Whereas I think, you know, you honouring that with your daughter, and then having that open conversation, and recognising, do you know what, you've had this rite of passage. Let's just recognise it. Let's take the time to, how do you want to talk about it? How do you need me to be with you? Do you need me to be the authoritarian mum? Or do you need me to just be, come on, let's just have a chat about it and have a giggle?
Mm-hmm. It's finding that connection between the two of you. And what you say there, you asked the question, how do you reach out to these kids? How do you reach out kids? That's me going back into mother mode again. These beautiful people, these the boys and girls and young men and women, and I think it's through these rites of passage we completely forget about them. Kira was 13 when she started her period, and I did a first blood ceremony, and again, I hadn't a clue. I didn't know what I was doing, why I was doing it. I just knew it was something that had to be honoured. And then we made a big fuss, and now my 12-year-old has started her period, and we're planning on doing that next month for her. She can't wait. She's like, what are we going to do? How am I going to do it? And yes, I get funny looks from my mum, and yes, I get funny looks from... I thought, well, let's try and do something different, honour this rite of passage for them. And I thought that Kira's friends would be a bit funny about that as well. I was questioned. How did you do it? What was it all about? They were so excited to hear more about it. And the same with Kira with us that night. And when we were talking about sex and virginity and all of it, she loved it, and she came alive at that moment as well. So I think it's honouring that, just seeing them, seeing that they're actually going through a challenge or going through a change, and connecting with them in that way. So it's very exciting. And I could speak to you all day, Jules. I knew this would happen. I don't think this is going to be the end of our conversation.
Might be the end of the broadcast, but...
And did I think we were going to be talking about sex? No, I didn't. That's the joy of these hangouts.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so if anybody wants any more information about the retreat that you're going to be doing, or Jules's website, then I'll be putting all the links and everything up there in the WOW group along with this video. But I just want to say a huge thank you for chatting with me today, and all of us today. It's been great, and it's great to have an insight to Jules. So it goes from being a Facebook page or a Facebook that we're looking to a real person. And that was the whole purpose of these chats and these groups. We get to know everybody better.
Yeah, that's cool.
So thanks so
You're
much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
You take care of yourself, and I will speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.